So mysteries debunked that go wrong while flying. Can you guess what happened with us? Like we're trying to figure out how in the world did the Avidyne change frequencies on its own? All right, here we go. There's 35. Good evening, Augusta Tower. Saratoga 3620 Whiskey, holding short of 35 at Foxtrot, ready for departure.
3620 Whiskey, Augusta Tower, fly runway heading, runway 35, clear for takeoff.
Runway heading 35, clear for takeoff, 3620 Whiskey. Here we go.
Whiskey, contact departure scene.
Over to departure, have a great day, 3620 Whiskey. Good evening, approach, Saratoga 3620 Whiskey, runway heading and climbing through 600 for 5,000.
Saratoga 3620 Whiskey, Augusta departure, radar contact, climb and maintain 6,000, turn left on course, direct NQA.
Contact Atlanta Center 126.6.
All right, guys, here we are. We are on our way to Tennessee. We are crossing just north of Atlanta. We went to Eugene, and we're crossing now just north of Atlanta. Atlanta's to our left. And then these are the Appalachian Mountains. Look how beautiful they are. So the Appalachian Mountains go from Georgia to North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and on and on. They keep going all the way up to the northeast, I should say. But here we are. We're heading through northern Georgia. And Javier has been working the radios. He's been doing an excellent job. So I want to see if maybe we can keep these cameras rolling so that we can catch him on the radios. He's been doing a great job. On the other hand, we're going to talk also about mysteries debunked while flying. So welcome, guys, to Flying Dirty. And we're going to talk about some of the things that happen in the airplane that it takes you a while to figure out, but if you keep looking, you'll eventually debunk them. And again, we're on an instrument flight plan. So I apologize for the communication ATC, but if you guys are pilots, you know that if you're flying an instrument flight plan, you have to keep ATC on at all times. So we have to monitor ATC, so we'll get interrupted here every now and then, but I'm used to it. I learned how to bypass and void anything that doesn't have 3620 Whiskey. When I hear 3620 Whiskey, my ears stand up, and automatically I respond.
Mine are starting to do that too.
Yep, it's something that you start doing.
833.
Everything else you just ignore because it doesn't pertain to you. So, mysteries while flying. Okay, we debunked a mystery, a big mystery that we had no idea what was going on. I was thinking it was Javier messing with the iPad. What I love about the iPad is that the iPad can actually control, like right here, you can actually have a second Avidyne on the left-hand side, and then also have ForeFlight on my right-hand side. So I can split the two apps, and I can use them simultaneously. This communicates and sends flight plans to and from the Avidyne.
Thank you.
And I can change Avidyne frequencies and everything that you can pretty much do with the Avidyne, you can do with the iPad. And then also for flight, you can also do whatever you want, like change flight plans, and then you can upload them into Avidyne as well. So I really love this setup because you can do, matter of fact, if I wanted to do the attitude, there is the, you can have like your own attitude indicator if you want. So I really like this setup. This is why I didn't really want a dynon on this side, because I use the iPad more than I would use the dynon, having another one. However, I really thought about putting another dynon over there, and eventually I just might do that. But for right now, I don't see it happening anytime soon, because again, I'm used to this setup and I really love this setup the way we have it here. So mysteries debunked that go wrong while flying. Can you guess what happened with us? I'm telling you, you're never going to guess this. And it drove us nuts. Like we're trying to figure out how in the world did the Avidyne change frequencies on its own. And believe me guys, it changed frequencies. So since we're on an instrument flight plan, it changed frequencies. We had no idea that it switched, and Atlanta Approach was trying to contact us, and I guess they've been trying to contact us for quite a while and they couldn't reach us. So then Augusta Approach got a hold of us, because I always keep one on standby. Like if I switch frequencies, I keep my last frequency on the standby, just in case I need to go back and talk to them for some reason. So thank God that I did that, because for some reason it switched back to the frequency, the previous frequency that I was on. Now the way that you switch frequencies on the Avidyne is, see how I have Atlanta Approach? You would flip frequencies. You would push this button and it would flip frequencies. Here, I'm going to do that real quick. It'll flip frequencies just like that. Okay, that's how you flip your frequencies. Now here on this iPad, you can actually change frequencies and put them on standby, but it doesn't flip. Like I don't flip the frequencies from the iPad, I flip the frequencies from the Avidyne. So that being said, folks, the frequencies changed. I want to see if anyone can comment before I actually tell you guys what happened. If anyone can guess.
Thank you.
If you have an Avidyne, you might have a good idea, because this may have already happened to you. But I would like to see if you can guess on how those frequencies changed.
Yeah, take a minute to pause the video and comment down below.
And I tell you what, if you guess on that, I'll give you a lot of props. I'll give you a lot of respect, because I'm going to tell you, that's one that I think happens once in a million. So, okay, guys, so let's get to the mystery. So by now you guys should have guessed, and if you haven't guessed by now, you're never going to guess how that frequency changed. And I'll tell you what, you know, I'll make sure that this never happened again. But again, remember, everything happens in sequences, and you have to backtrack and try to figure this stuff out, and it drives you nuts. But I'm one of those guys that I don't like when something goes wrong. Like when something goes wrong, it really annoys and bothers the heck out of me, and until I find out what happened, so that I don't repeat the same mistake, I'm not satisfied. I mean, that's just how I am, okay? So I was blaming Javier in a way. I was like, hey, listen, until we figure this out, don't mess with the iPad, because as you well know, if you fly with your Stratus and iPad, you know that you can transmit information from one to the other. Okay, so I was first thinking that Javier was trying to do something or messing. Hang on 1 second, let's change the fuel tank.
3620 Whiskey, contact Chattanooga Approach 125.1, good day.
125.1, 3620 Whiskey, thank you. Chattanooga Approach, this is Saratoga 3620 Whiskey, 6000.
3620 Whiskey, Chattanooga Approach, and altimeter 2980.
2980, 3620 Whiskey.
There he goes, guys. He did it. You caught him on radio. He's been doing this now for quite a while. He's been practicing on the radio.
30 Whiskey, I'm showing heavy to extreme precipitation, 12 o'clock, 10 miles, approximately 5 miles in diameter.
20 Whiskey, we have it in sight. Looks like we'll be just right of it. So that's one thing I love about ATC is that they actually help you out with precipitation, and they're really good diverting you. So they have done a really good job all through our flights. And I do have the precipitation both visual and on radar. Now I don't really trust the radar. As a matter of fact, not really. I don't trust the radar. This is just for guidance and reference. I trust my eyes. And whenever I see precipitation here, especially if it's moderate to extreme, I need to see it visually. I can't go into a cloud not knowing what that cloud has, okay? So that's one thing I don't do. I don't go into clouds
Switch fuel
when those clouds, when I can't see what's behind those clouds. So we've already switched to fuel tanks. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that happen at the same time. But if you're a pilot, you know how to multitask, and you know what you need to do, and you're pretty much ready to execute at a moment's notice. So for those of you who may be watching this video for the first time and you're not accustomed to flying, you know what, it's a great thing because it helps you develop your multitasking skills. So there you are, like right now I'm talking, but I'm still looking and making sure that everything is operating, and I'm still doing dead reckoning at the same time. Even though I'm in an IFR flight plan, I'm also doing dead reckoning. So you can't be too safe, okay? So that's the whole thing. And we want to stay to the left of that precipitation, and it looks like we'll pass it and miss it. So we'll keep an eye on it to make sure that those clouds doesn't, to make sure that it doesn't inch our way. But anyway, let's talk about the mystery, guys.
Oh, and another thing that made it look like I was doing something. So I was trying to, you know, look at the flight plan again, and then it did it again.
Yes, that's right. So what he's saying is that at the same time that he touched this, something happened with the Avidyne. Like the Avidyne, the map had changed. That's another thing. Not just the frequency, but the map had also changed. So that again, that's why I was thinking it was something having to do with the iPad. Okay, nothing else. There was nothing else that would explain what was going on. So guys, are you ready for the mystery? Let's go ahead and where are my drums? I need my drums. All right, Javier, tell them what the mystery was. So this is a remote for the Avidyne, believe it or not. Now this remote, I had it here on my dash, but because it's so hot, we went to Florida, and I tell you what, you know, that's one thing I do not miss about Florida, is that it is hot and muggy. My goodness gracious, it was hot and muggy. So, so my Velcro melted. It melted. So here, let's
As for deviation,
let's get ready to go through these clouds here. It may get a little bumpy. So let's cut the chit chat here and focus on flying here the airplane in case it gets bumpy. Then we are pretty much ready to execute. Let me ask for a deviation here to the right. And Chattanooga approach, we just missed the precipitation. It's over to our left, but we have a little build-up here straight ahead. I'd like to get 10 to the right, please.
20 Whiskey, deviation right of course is approved.
20 Whiskey, thank you. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to deviate here to the right, so that we can pass just to the right of this sail here. Because I'm really not digging it. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. Perfect, yeah, this is more like it. We stay well away. Javier, show him the precipitation here if you can. You know, I got this camera. Let me show you guys here. So here's the precipitation. There's rain falling down there, as you can see. So we just missed that. We wanted to make sure that we would bypass that. And now we're going through a sail here. And then we're going to be right through this sail here very shortly. So I picked the weaker side of the sail, I guess you could say. And here we go. We're crossing another one. Now these clouds are not as bouncy as most of the other ones. There we go, and we're through it. We got a couple more, but those are not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Yeah, what's this?
Yeah, that's old. That's the one we just passed. All right, let's get back on course. That was a good deviation. And here's some mountains here. Some more scenery of the Appalachian Mountains. This is a beautiful area, by the way. North Georgia. This is northwest Georgia. These are part of the Appalachian Mountains. We're headed to Tennessee, around Nashville, Tennessee.
3620 Whiskey, back on course.
November 3620 Whiskey, roger.
So what I do is, whenever I go through clouds, I slow down just to make sure that I go below the maneuvering speed, which in this airplane, my maneuvering speed is 144 miles an hour. That is your safe maneuvering speed. All right, guys. Now that we're clear of that, of those clouds, then we can talk about this. So let's get back to this subject. So if you guys have an Avidyne and you have the remote, this little gadget here, this thing, I love this thing. I use it whenever there's turbulence. This is pretty cool because all you have to do is touch the buttons. Like if you want to hit direct, you can just hit direct, enter, and believe it or not, because this airplane has an autopilot hooked up to the GPS, you actually have remote control capability, believe it or not. This remote control will steer your airplane, and it will, if you hit direct, it'll be just the same thing as hitting the radio, as hitting direct on the GPS. You can do it all from this remote. So what happened was that the remote somehow, well, when it fell, when we were in Florida, this doggone Velcro melted. You can see right there, it melted, and it fell on the floor. So when it fell on the floor, I put it on my console here, and when I put it on the console, somehow, some way, I guess it rubbed against my iPad and all the stuff I have in the console, and it turned on. So it turned on, and then my drink.
3620 Whiskey, contact Atlanta Center 132.05, see ya.
132.05, 3620 Whiskey. Atlanta Center, 3620 Whiskey, 6000.
3620 Whiskey, Atlanta Center, Chattanooga, altimeter 2980.
2980, 3620 Whiskey.
Good, son. Good job. All right, so Javier is getting pretty good on those radios. So here's what happened. So by this turning on and the thermos bouncing on it, it changed the frequency. So we figured out the mystery. We debunked it. It wasn't him. It wasn't the radio. It was this little thing here. So guys, if you have a remote control, make sure you keep it free of obstacles. Don't do the same mistake I did. So, you know, because it'll catch you by surprise, it'll change frequencies, and you don't want that, okay? Not only can it change frequencies, actually, just like I said, this can actually change a flight plan, believe it or not. This can change your flight plan. So keep it stored somewhere where it's away from any obstacles, which can punch down on these letters and numbers, because that could catch you by surprise if it were to change. So there you go. I'm just letting you know, keeping you advised, which I have to hang it up whenever I get back to Denver. But right now, I'm not going to worry about it, because if I put it back up there, it's just going to fall again because the Velcro has melted. So we'll just keep an eye on it. We'll make sure that it doesn't turn on. We'll keep it here safe and away from any other obstacles or objects, and we'll keep an eye on it. But that's the mystery, guys. We debunked it, and that's what happened. We had a frequency change. We couldn't figure out why. ATC was trying to call us, and you know, that I don't like when things like that happen. And we're trying to figure out what happened, what's going on, and we're trying to troubleshoot it. It turned out to be that. So there it is, guys, just to give you a heads up. All right, so let's talk, since we're here talking, let's just chit-chat about the autopilot now. let's talk a little bit about the Trutrak. I've been giving you guys pointers on the Trutrak, how I feel about it. You know, again, I'm waiting on Dynon to come out with their autopilot for the PA32. They approved their Dynon Skyview for the PA32, but they haven't approved the autopilot, and the Dynon Skyview has a very good, exceptional autopilot. And all you have to do, this comes built in already with an autopilot. All you have to do is buy the servos and get the servos installed. So that's all you need to do to get the autopilot installed. So I'm waiting on Dynon to approve the autopilot for the PA32. They approved it for the PA34 line, which is essentially the same airplane, except but it has dual engines. So I'm not sure why they can't approve it for the PA32. You would think it would be easier to do the PA32 before the PA34, but that's how they chose to do it. So Dynon, again, if you're listening, man, we need your assistance. We gotta have this autopilot for the PA32. Once they do that, I'll go ahead and get rid of the Trutrak. I bought the Trutrak because it is the most, in my opinion, right now, the most affordable autopilot that you can buy on the market. And I like it because it's totally independent. You don't need to sync it with anything, even though it works better if you do. For example, if you sync it with a GPS, and if you sync it with the Dynon, you know, it's beautiful. It gives you, you know, it opens up more of the options, but you don't need anything with this, okay? Like, as opposed to a Garmin, you need a G5, or you need a G3X. With the Trutrak, you really don't need anything. You can just buy the Trutrak, and it has its own independent tracking, so it can work on its own independently. So I do like the Trutrak, but it has weaknesses. They have not approved this Trutrak yet for doing a couple GPS approaches. So whenever you do a GPS approach, you still have to do it manually. You can do vectors as long as it's not coupled. But that defeats the purpose. So I just rather do them hand manual. You know, I don't, why bother? So that, and then the other thing is, whenever you take off and do climbs, the climb performance with the Trutrak is horrible in my opinion. I've already tried it many times, and the problem is that it doesn't have AIS mode, which is your climb speed mode. So in other words, let's say if you want to set it at climbing speed for 105, which is, you know, the speed that I like to climb in this airplane to keep the engine more cool, it won't do that. It will just climb at, like, you can just set it at like a VS speed of like 500, 600, and it'll try to do that. But I mean try, because it can't even do that consistently. I have to help it, and what I just rather do now is I don't even bother with the autopilot now. I just, whenever I take off, I just do it manually as well until I get to...
That.
Yeah, see, he even noticed that. So I just climb manually until I get to my climb altitude now, because it's just a lot easier that way. So, so yeah, that's just how I like to do it now. Now, once you get to your cruising altitude, as you can see, now it holds steady. It's holding steady, and it follows the GPS like it's on tracks, and it works really, really well once you get to altitude. So for me, flying these long cross countries, it's actually really, really helpful. Really, really helpful, because I don't get fatigued like I used to. When I used to make these long cross countries, prior to me having an autopilot, I used to have to hand fly this darn thing all the time from point A to point B on long cross countries. And trust me, by the time you get to your destination, you are well tired and fatigued. So I'm very glad to have the Trutrak, and I love it. If you're a VFR pilot, this Trutrak will be, it will be a heaven for you. It will be great. It will be a great asset to have. And I think it's still a good autopilot, but like I said, I'm waiting for Dynon to come in and release theirs. Okay? That being said, as far as the descents, it does a really good job, but you still have to pilot the aircraft. Like, for example, I decreased my inches in manifold pressure enough to get usually a 500 vertical descent, and then once I reach 500 vertical descent and the speed that I want, then I lock my throttle. So that's how I do it. And that way you don't have to trim because she's already trimmed for that speed. So it'll descend, but you still don't have to trim, and then the autopilot doesn't struggle because that's the other downside to this autopilot is that it does not have auto trim. So you have to really watch your trimming. Okay, like what I do every now and then is I release. Right now we're cruising, we're on GPS mode. And what I do every now and then is I release my autopilot, and my gosh, she is trimmed beautifully because you see the airplane didn't do anything, it just kept going and it's still holding altitude. Look at that. So that is pretty much how I handle and how I operate my my autopilot. So it does have some flaws. Now back to the remote. Like I said, overall, I really love this remote. Today, she didn't take care of me, but you can change frequencies. You can even do your procedures with this. You can program your procedures. You can do direct to. You can do whatever. Whatever you can do with that, you can do with this. So please be careful. Just bear in mind that she can turn on by itself by rubbing on something, and then if you press a button or whatever, it'll start maybe making the GPS crazy like it did for us and changing frequencies without our consent. So just be on the lookout for that, guys. I don't want anything like that to happen to you. So since it already happened to me, then hopefully you can avoid a similar situation. So again, we saw Javier working the radios. Beautiful thing. He's doing a really wonderful job. Anything you have to comment on, Javier?
Doing the radios is not as hard as I thought it would be.
Doing the radios is not as hard as you thought it would be?
No, after a little while you get the hang of it.
After a little while you get the hang of it?
Yep.
All right.
What did I
do? What, Isa?
What did I do?
What do you mean, what do you do?
Well, Harvey did the radios. What did I do?
Nothing.
What do you do? Well, you slept. You're our passenger. He's the co-pilot, I'm the pilot, and you paid me to do the flight.
I get to look for traffic, I get to sleep a little bit.
All you have to do is sit back and enjoy the ride, Mama.
Contact Atlanta approach
128.0.
All right, guys, so here we are cruising right along. Now we're heading over to Memphis, Tennessee for our final destination. Boy, it looks hazy out there. Can't really see us. Like IFR, sometimes when you're flying in hazy conditions like this, it reduces your visibility, and it's almost like flying in IMC in a way. This is the really good stuff that you can do with your own airplane. Is you can fly to different destinations. You can use it for business. You can use it for pleasure. And we have fun as much as possible. And I'm hoping to teach these kiddos quite a bit. Hopefully, both of them will become pilots as they grow older. Javier's already learning how to manage the radios and steer the airplane on the ground, so we'll teach them baby steps.
Astro 4 Bravo Mike.
You've let me in the air before.
127.67.
I've let him steer before. He needs a little more practice with that, but I think now he's getting the hang of it. So we have an hour and 18 minutes until we get to Memphis, Tennessee. And we're just going to cruise right along. So Memphis, here we come. And then we go on to Denver. So I have to do some shirts. I have a lot of orders waiting for me when I get back. Flying Dirty shirts. So if you don't know about the website, if this is your first time, check out the website Flying Dirty. You'll get cool shirts like this. All right, we're making our descent here into Memphis.
20 Whiskey, flying at 270.
270, 3620 Whiskey.
So the haze made for a beautiful sunset, as you can see, but the haze also caused me not to be able to see the airport. And this airport was under construction, so the main runway was also closed, and that meant no runway lights as well. Interestingly enough, we did a Harrison Ford and landed on the taxiway. which is now the runway for the time being. But ATC and Tower were extremely helpful and flew us practically right over the airport, and we had no problems landing.
20 Whiskey, no one can advise there are no lights currently with that operation due to that runway closure. All they have is the beacon.
Okay, roger that. Yeah, we're looking for that too. It's a bit hazy, but yeah, we can't even locate the beacon at this point.
20 Whiskey, I'll just keep you on the heading for now. I'll line you up for runway 21, and we'll see if you can get the field in sight.
That's the airport, son. Yep, that's the one. In Memphis for November 3620 Whiskey, we got the airport in sight. We can turn right back to it.
20 Whiskey, roger. It'll be about a left turn heading of 220. That'll line you up with the runway. Cleared visual approach, runway 21.
Saratoga 20 Whiskey, roger. Turn left on taxiway Echo.
Left on taxiway Echo. 3620 Whiskey. And approach was very accommodating. I couldn't see the airport.
Saratoga 20 Whiskey, yeah, they called me and they let me know all that, and then I gave them my airspace down to 2000 so that you could come fly directly over the airport and actually get to see the airport.
Thank you, you guys are wonderful.
We do what we can.
So thank you all for watching the video. I know that I have not posted a video in several months, but it's been extremely busy. I really appreciate all of you who wrote me concerned and making sure that everything was all right. So just to let you know, after this video, my family and I are going to take a couple of weeks vacation, and then we'll resume posting videos after the holidays. So happy holidays to all of you. Take care, stay safe, and have a great day, my friends.